How could I have anticipated that the child who assisted me in setting up the coffee maker would step into my home, only for me to discover that I had carelessly left my toys and some deeply personal clothing strewn across the couch? Little did I know everything would shift after that moment. In solitude, I found myself, yet the moment I ventured to acquire that coffee maker, the kindness of the man at the store transformed my day from isolation to companionship. Who would have imagined that a naive young man would enter my life and steer it in such an unforeseen manner? Allow me to recount the tale from its inception. At the age of 60, I find myself reflecting on a life marked by 15 years of solitude following my divorce. Naturally, there were instances of solitude and cherished belongings, treasures meant solely for my own enjoyment. Indeed, I employed them with such frequency that I scarcely realized when I inadvertently left them exposed in the heart of the living room. Perhaps it was merely a routine, or perhaps it served as my means of bridging the chasm of solitude. Regardless, that morning seemed utterly ordinary. What began as a simple plan to purchase a coffee maker and continue with my day took an unexpected turn when that young man, Jake, stepped in with his offer of assistance. As I swung the door open and allowed him to enter with the box, I remained blissfully unaware that what began as an ordinary day was on the brink of transforming into something truly remarkable. At 23, Jake radiated excitement and warmth, his energy palpable as he entered my home, coffee maker in hand. His gaze drifted through every nook and cranny of the room. At that moment, his gaze fell upon an assortment of my toys and the personal articles of clothing carelessly strewn across the couch. I had grown so accustomed to their presence that I failed to recognize how they blended seamlessly into the most mundane aspects of the home. Jake offered a subtle smile as he approached the living room and remarked, "You live alone, don't you?" In his eyes danced a playful curiosity. My face flushed a vivid crimson. It unfolded with such unexpected swiftness and mortification that I found myself at a loss for how to respond. It was merely a task of setting up the coffee maker, nothing more. I kept these intimate aspects of my life to myself, never revealing them to another soul. My solitude belonged solely to me, and I had no desire to cast its shadow upon another. "Jake, let's just pretend you didn't see any of this," I said, my voice quivering ever so slightly. It seemed as though all my desires had abruptly shattered into pieces. Jake cast a glance my way, a smile playing on his lips. "Whatever you say," he replied. "But you know these matters aren't exactly simple to ignore. They certainly command attention much like you do." That left me feeling even more flustered. I gradually averted my gaze and whispered, "Jake, remember to subscribe and activate notifications for more tales such as this. You won't be able to hold back from sharing your thoughts after hearing this one. Let's engage in a discussion about it in the comments below. I eagerly await your reflections." Yet, with his characteristic warmth and authenticity, he pressed on. "It's entirely normal to experience these feelings when one is living alone," he remarked, his eyes now glimmering with a newfound brightness. "We all possess our own desires, yet there are moments when such things simply fall short, don't you think?" The subtle emphasis in his words lingered at the end, resonating with a quiet intensity. He seemed to be making an effort to connect with me, reaching out in a manner that was simultaneously daring and tender. For a fleeting moment our gazes intertwined, and in that instant, a flicker of connection ignited between us. A tug, a silent allure, a subtle fervor. Jake's warm gaze lingered on me, and with each fleeting moment, the distance between us diminished. Each word he uttered resonated deeply within me, and in that moment, I understood that my emotions were unlike anything I had experienced before. Jake remarked, "I noticed it the first time you came to get the coffee maker, a peculiar spark glimmering in his eyes. You bestowed upon me an emotion unlike any I have ever experienced." I hesitated briefly before responding. What could I possibly articulate? My emotions swirled chaotically, yet the urge to yield to this attraction was almost insurmountable. Text, I did the same for you, I replied, a faint smile gracing my lips. Had it been any different, I would have never welcomed your offer to assist and allowed you into my home. I uttered those words, yet within me, I was aware of a more profound feeling stirring beneath the surface. Somehow Jake had burrowed beneath my skin. His physique, his demeanor, his manner of speaking. Everything about him exuded a relaxed charm that was utterly captivating. The struggle to conceal my emotions from my gaze was becoming increasingly difficult. A moment of silence hung in the air before I finally spoke up. I've been trapped in these jeans and this shirt all day. They're suffocating me. In an effort to alleviate the tension, I shall retreat to change into something more comfortable. Feel free to settle in as if this is your own space. Jake's eyes held mine for a moment longer than necessary. I attempted to divert my gaze, if only for a fleeting moment, yet I found myself unable to do so. He captivated me, the distance that separated us diminishing with each passing moment. As I ascended the stairs, I donned a sleek figure-hugging dress adorned with delicate spaghetti straps. I applied a subtle enhancement to my makeup and gracefully descended to the kitchen, only to find Jake poised by the living room door, capturing my attention. His gaze, whether by design or happenstance, was fixed upon me. For a fleeting moment I found myself rooted in place, caught in a web of hesitation as my thoughts danced freely in my mind. Very well, I mused, young man. Your intentions are unmistakably evident. You feel like a stroke of luck, so let's embrace this moment. I contemplated this quietly, then feigned ignorance of his gaze as I moved closer to him. Jake, I inquired with a hint of mischief in my voice, are you single? Do you have a girlfriend? Or do you find yourself in solitude during the night? As I gazed upon him, an ember ignited within me. We stood on the precipice of understanding, where each word, each gesture, each fleeting glance resonated with a significance that felt profound. As I beheld the thrill and timid wonder reflected in his gaze, a smile gently blossomed on my lips. Once you've completed the setup of the coffee maker, shall we brew some coffee together? I spoke, hardly aware of the subtle quiver in my tone. I'm eager to engage in conversation. Share your story with me. As I approached him, a warmth blossomed within me, each detail about him drawing me nearer. Jake settled into a chair, yet he found himself restless, unable to find a position that felt right. I, however, took a bold step forward and positioned my chair directly beside his. As I positioned it securely beneath me, my skirt, I crept forward ever so slightly, just a few centimeters, yet I was acutely conscious of the movement. Jake's gaze lifted, hovering just shy of connecting with my own. His attentiveness was palpable, a true reflection of his sincerity. I cast a sidelong glance at him, attempting to measure this newfound intimacy, and offered a smile. With a casual crossing of my legs, I let my arm drape over the back of the chair. Were you filled with impatience as you awaited this moment? I jested, attempting to infuse a light-hearted spirit into the atmosphere. Yet the unspoken tension between us steadily escalated. Jake, a hint of nervousness in his demeanor yet unwavering in his gaze, inquired, "How old are you?" His voice trembled just a bit, caught in the delicate balance of astonishment and respect. "I was under the impression that you were 50. A glimmer ignited within my gaze. Did he genuinely believe I was 50? That was intriguing and strangely complimentary. A smile crept onto my face unbidden. "Do you prefer those who are 50 years old?" I arched an eyebrow, a playful smirk dancing on my lips as I scrutinized him. Every word, every fleeting moment shared between us drew us nearer, ignited by the intensity of the moment and the astonishment reflected in his gaze. He appeared utterly captivated by my presence. "No, that's not what I meant," he said, his voice tinged with a hint of shyness. "Your youth and beauty are truly captivating." His words reverberated within the confines of my mind. A warmth enveloped me, yet an unsettling feeling lingered in the closeness. At this moment, the act of taking another step seemed to carry an air of discomfort. A stillness enveloped us, a pause that lingered in the air. With a steadying breath, I posed the question, "Are you currently in a relationship? Do you find yourself in solitude? What do you do to fill your evenings in solitude?" I approached these questions with a mix of eagerness and a hint of nervousness. Jake hushed his tone, his gaze firmly fixed on me. "I'm alone," he remarked. In that instant, I was convinced he was solitary, yet it seemed to be a loneliness he didn't genuinely desire. We exchanged glances for a moment, and I sensed that he could perceive the fervor in my stare. A subtle transformation stirred within me as I lingered in anticipation. My emotions began to crystallize swiftly, and I realized I had to act. "That's not how tonight's going to unfold," I declared, my voice taking on a firmer, more resolute tone. My gaze returned to him, and each word I uttered resonated with significance. In that instant, I realized that everything was on the brink of transformation. "Jake, come," I urged, my voice softer than usual yet undeniably more welcoming. With a glance, I directed him toward the room with the bed and turned away, confident he would follow my lead. I sensed his footsteps trailing behind, his breath quickening ever so slightly. As we stepped into the bedroom, Jake paused just by the threshold. His shoulders bore a slight tension, yet his expression remained sharp, filled with anticipation. I turned to face him, and there it was on his face, a blend of hesitation and excitement. "Jake, are you prepared?" I inquired, my voice measured and composed. I moved in a bit closer, a subtle smile playing on my lips as I remarked, "I've got experience, as you can see. Take a deep breath. There's no reason to feel anxious." As I drew near, I rested my hand softly on his shoulder. That subtle touch appeared to alleviate some of his tension, yet it simultaneously intensified the excitement within him. In that instant, Jake's vibrant spirit collided with the assurance and determination I had cultivated through the passage of time. With deliberate grace, I let the straps of my dress cascade down my shoulder. The fabric glided over my skin before cascading to the floor. Jake's gaze was fixed upon me. A blend of wonder, intrigue, and longing filled the air. A flicker of emotion ignited within, yet my demeanor remained composed. I edged nearer to him, the quietude enveloping us, as if it were weaving an unspoken connection. My fingertips grazed his cheek, and I lingered, anticipating his next move. Jake paused for a moment, but ultimately he inclined himself toward me. His gaze radiated a palpable sense of determination and excitement. His hands gently settled on my waist, and his face inched closer to mine until our lips finally connected. His kiss embodied the audacity of youth, tinged with a whisper of naivety, yet that very innocence only captivated me further. I retreated gradually, my steps leading me to the bed. I allowed myself to descend onto it with intentional, leisurely motions. The frigid touch upon my skin sent a shiver coursing through me, amplifying the thrill that simmered within. I cast a glance at Jake. He remained rooted in place, uncertainty clouding his next move. "Jake, come here," I called, my tone gentle yet inviting. I traced my fingers along the surface of the bed, indicating the vacant space beside me. "Recline. Fear holds no power here." Jake inched nearer, his movements deliberate as he settled down beside me. We seemed to be suspended in time, the atmosphere thickening with each passing moment. I turned to him, my hand resting lightly on his chest, and asked in a soft voice, Have you ever considered this moment? Envision it, Jake. Jake's gaze remained fixed on me, unwavering and intense. More than merely envisioning it, he confessed, his voice hushed and slightly trembling. Yet I never believed it could truly come to pass. In that instant, every uncertainty was cast aside. We were intertwining not merely through our physical forms, but through the depths of our emotions as well. Neither of us had any idea where this journey would lead, yet one truth stood unwavering in my mind. The thrill I experienced with Jake was a longing I had been pursuing for quite some time. As I lay beside him, the excitement within me blossomed into a surge of bravery. I propped myself up at the edge of the bed, my eyes locked onto Jake as I gradually rose to my feet, leaning in just a bit from the head of the bed. Our gazes intertwined, revealing the blend of astonishment and eagerness etched upon his face. "Jake," I said, my voice gentle yet firm, "this evening, neither of us stands alone." Jake swallowed with difficulty, his gaze unwavering. His silence conveyed a profound understanding of the gravity of my words. His hands clutched the edge of the bed with a fierce intensity, yet his eyes had begun to shimmer with newfound courage. With deliberate slowness, I inclined my face closer to his, cradling his cheeks softly in my hands. "Let us embrace this moment tonight," I murmured, drawing my lips nearer to his. "Do not question, do not fear." Jake's breath came in rapid bursts, yet he remained steadfast, refusing to retreat, even for a heartbeat. In that instant, we were both fleeing our solitude, discovering solace in the warmth of one another's company. Jake's breath came in rapid bursts, his eyes darting to seize every nuance of the moment, as if he sought to engrave it upon his memory. He paused for a moment, then he raised his hands to my waist, embodying a blend of audacity and hesitation. The initial reluctance transformed into an overwhelming yearning that I found impossible to restrain. My breath came in fits and starts, yet the weight of the moment pressed heavily upon my soul. "Jake," I murmured, my fingers softly tracing the contours of his face. "This sensation is overwhelming, and it is truly exquisite." Jake held his gaze steady, responding with a voice that resonated deeply, yet quivered with a gentle warmth. "I share your sentiments, yet doesn't it seem like everything is unfolding at an astonishing pace? This emotion I possess is incredibly intense and profoundly beautiful. It's likely evident that I've never embarked on an endeavor quite like this before." A grin blossomed upon my lips. I drew nearer and gently pressed my lips against his forehead. "Jake, there are moments when life unfolds more beautifully when you allow yourself to simply be, without the weight of overthinking. Embrace the moment and let it flow," I remarked with a comforting voice. Jake hesitated for a heartbeat, then let his hands glide gently from my waist, drawing me nearer to him. As our breaths intertwined and the distance between us vanished, I sensed that this moment might mark a pivotal change in our lives. In a matter of moments, Jake, panting and surrendering completely, released himself just as I had instructed. He pressed on, and the sensation was nothing short of exhilarating. As I reclined beside him afterward, he appeared so content, as if he had finally released all his burdens. Jake's powerful embrace enveloped me, drawing me in with an intensity that felt both protective and warm. My head lay against his chest, attuned to the steady cadence of his heartbeat. The cadence of the sound was at once calming and oddly invigorating. Unbeknownst to me, my fingers softly glided over the contours of his chest, creating delicate patterns. Jake inhaled deeply, his voice barely above a whisper as he spoke to Brittany. "This sensation coursing through me is unlike anything I've ever experienced. I've never known such tranquility and serenity before." His voice carried a blend of sincerity and astonishment. I offered a smile, yet avoided his gaze, my head comfortably nestled against his chest. "Is that so?" I whispered softly. Indeed, he persisted, softly moving one of his hands to my back, drawing me nearer. Throughout my existence, I have pursued an elusive something. Never did I imagine pausing to savor a moment such as this. Yet here I am with you, and it renders everything worthwhile. His words enveloped me in a comforting embrace, igniting a warmth that radiated from within. As I reclined, attuned to the soothing cadence of his breaths, I responded, "Jake, simply being in your presence stirs a feeling within me that has long been dormant, something truly special." Jake's fingers wove gently through my hair, a tender smile gracing his lips. "I suppose we provided one another with precisely what we required," he remarked, lost in contemplation. I raised my gaze just enough to meet his eyes. The sincerity and sense of liberation etched upon his features conveyed everything. "Then let us simply leave it as it is," I remarked. "Let us fully embrace this moment." Jake nodded slowly, a silent affirmation hanging in the air. We simply lingered in that embrace, enveloped by the warmth of the moment that cocooned us. The stillness and soft glow beyond seemed to be crafted solely for our presence. With my head nestled against Jake's chest, I surrendered to the tranquility of the moment, closing my eyes and allowing serenity to envelop me. At that moment, a thought quietly slipped into my consciousness. I envisioned inviting him to remain here with me, to transform this house, these serene nooks and solitary evenings, into something more vibrant with his company. The thought of incorporating him into my life illuminated everything, making it feel more vibrant and complete. Unquestionably, I was unaware of the path that lay before us, the thrilling days or profound bonds that awaited on the horizon. Yet, one certainty lingered in my mind. Our narrative was far from its conclusion. This marked merely the onset. Remain attentive. If you've journeyed this far, it's clear that my narrative has resonated with you. There is an abundance of insights waiting to be unveiled, and you certainly won't want to overlook them. Press that follow button, activate notifications, and be sure to share your thoughts on this tale in the comments. I eagerly anticipate your thoughts, so let's engage in conversation in the comments section. Your support is invaluable to me,